It's going out to all them girls out there that did me a South wrong. You know? Tell y'all a little story. It's the reason. What you think, huh?
All right, I'm gonna jump straight into this, man. What's called this little young Swisher House, man. Our guest for the day is the big homie, you know what I'm saying? Orlando's finest, you know what I'm saying? Early 2000s. This man was blowing up, doing his thing, you know, really representing, really put Orlando on the map. SOUTHSTAR, one half of the duo Smiles and SOUTHSTAR. What's up, brother?
What's up, everybody, man? How you doing, my brother?
Oh man, another day. It's beautiful out here in Texas, out here in H-Town. The weather's nice, you know, it's usually really hot out here, so we got a nice day, so I'm enjoying it.
Love H-Town, man. Houston like a second home for me, man.
Definitely, definitely. What's that hat say? I just kind of see that hat. What's that hat say?
Oh, it's the 106 and Park joint. Someone had sent it to us.
Okay. That's what
Had
I'm
to throw it
talking
back,
about.
man, and represent, man.
Early 2000s. I mean, this came out of like, I'm not gonna say nowhere, but I mean, it just came. Like this project,
Yep.
it was just on BET. I remember the commercials for it. I mean, like it was just boom. So talk about that. So, and I know Dakari, right? He was the producer. He was known more for producing like the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and stuff like that. That was like his forte.
Yep.
Sold millions, you know, great hit producer. So
Yeah.
how did that come about with his transition to say, hey, I want to put together a duo and put together this group and get it on Transcontinental? How did that come about?
You know, me and Smiles were both kind of solo artists in Orlando at the time, just on the underground scene, kind of just, you know, doing battles or opening up for whoever was coming through the city, just anytime you get to perform. So we kind of knew each other, always wanted to work together, but you know, studio access wasn't exactly as easy as it is today back then. So we never had got the chance. And Dakari happened to live in an apartment complex that I lived in at the time. And we used to always hoop in this basketball gym that was in the complex. So that's actually how I knew Dakari, from just playing basketball. And one day we just happened to be in there playing basketball. I was telling a buddy about a story about a show I had just did, and he kind of overheard and was kind of like, you know, hey, what do you do? Like, you do music, or what are you, a producer or something? And I was like, nah, I rap. And he's like, oh, for real? Like, you know, of course, looking at me kind of like, for real, you rap? Like, and he was like, yo, like spit something, you know what I'm saying? So like, I was like, right now in the gym, I was like, all right. So we just kind of, I just spit him like a verse real quick. And he was like, yo, that's dope. He said, hey man, when we're done hooping, come with me. I want to play you something. Didn't really say nothing much. So, you know, we kept playing basketball, finished our games, whatever, just kind of pick up games. And then after, I went out to the car with him, and he started playing me these beats, man. And he was like, yeah, you know, and then he started telling me what he do. Because at the time, I didn't even know what he did. You know what I'm saying? He was just like, yeah, you know, I'm an in-house producer at Transcontinental Records. You know, if you're from Orlando back in the early 2000s, back then, everybody knows Transcon, right? Because of Backstreet, NSYNC, you know, all the groups that have come through there. Everybody knew about the studio. It wasn't like a studio you could just go book. You know, you kind of had to get an in there. And the car was just like, yo, man, I want you to come by tomorrow, if you can, tomorrow around 5 o'clock. I'm gonna get you in the studio with another guy that I know named Smiles. And I was like, oh, I know Smiles, you know, like me and cool, I always want to work. He's like, perfect, man, come through. And then there was actually a third guy he had invited. I forget his name, but he was like, you know, so-and-so, I'm gonna invite him out too. And just do records, basically. It wasn't about a group, it wasn't about a project or nothing, just kind of get in the studio, do records, you know what I'm saying? So me and Smiles, like I said, we already had some kind of like chemistry because we knew each other. So when we seen each other, we was like, what's up, man? And basically the first night we went in there, he threw this beat on and left us in the room, and we wrote our verses. You know what I'm saying? The hook was already on the record. And then he went in another room and started just making another beat. And he came back and was like, that song was done. And he was like, yo, here's another beat. Work on it. Do this one. And so we started basically coming back every night, you know, like and I'm talking like we be in there from like 5 to like 4 or 5 in the morning, you know, just late night when everybody else is done with their stuff, and Dakari can kind of do his own thing. And that's really how it started, man. Me and Smile showed up. The third guy didn't come that day. Next thing you know, we like 8 records in, and we just kept recording. And the next thing you know, we like, oh man, I guess we're gonna do this group thing, you know. And it really, like I said, just started very organically, just getting in the studio, just kind of collaborating, just kind of see what we come up with, man. But you know,
I feel like it was a great duo for that time, like, you know, for that early 2000s and the sound that y'all gave. Like me personally, I remember Tell Me. I remember Who Wants This. Like I feel like Who Wants This was that the first single that came out?
Yeah, Who Wants This was the first single. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
So that was
yes.
like the first single that we started working.
It got that early 2000s feel, like just all over it, you know, like that whole
Yeah.
sound. And also like you can hear the instruments, like I don't know, to me, because I produce, you know, I produce now and stuff like that, but you can hear like some of those same instruments from some of them hit Backstreet Boy records.
You know, Dakari, like from producer standpoint, you know, obviously back then, me and Smiles were, you know, underground, you know, hip hop. Like we was hip hop heads, you know what I'm saying? So like all the producers we really had access to and work with, we were all hip hop heads. So everything was very hip hop. Where Dakari was like one of the first producers that we came across that when we heard his production, it was like, man, this thing sound big. Like this thing sound radio-ish, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it
I
could be, like I
agree.
said, a lot of the sounds or the keys and things that he's doing. But of course, coming from his background, after knowing the background, you kind of understood now, you know, that's what we going for. And so, yeah, man, I mean, hey, man, you know, Dakar is my guy, man. Love Dakar. I
No,
tell him all the
no,
time, man, he changed my life.
I'm saying this not to, like, you know, take anything away from it. It's what the game needed at that point. Like that sound, you know, like O-Town album. It kind of sounded like some of the tracks, like you could tell like Dakari was behind it just because the sounds of it. Like I'm a big sound guy. Like I like to listen to a record and pick out every instrument
Yep.
in it, you know. So it's like, so I'm big on that. That's super dope being able to work with Dakari and knowing, you know, and I'm sure it was a lot of pressure, you know, being a new hip hop artist and knowing all the accolades that this man, you know, has already done, and you being, like you said, coming in late night after the other artists are done and stuff like that to come in and get
Yeah,
your
yeah.
work in. So I'm sure that was a lot of pressure being a new artist and stuff like that. So that just had to be a dope time to be around.
Nah, definitely fun, man. I think for me and Smiles at the time, you know, we ain't really even think none of it. For us, it was we was just happy to be in the studio working on some records and having this production that is like out of this world for us at the time.
You looking around like this is
Yeah,
studio right
yeah.
here.
Yeah, yeah, like okay, yeah, this is it, man. I mean, they at that time, man, that studio like they used to have a chef that would cook lunch, cook dinner, you know. So we'd be like, dang, this is crazy, you know. Like for us, we was just enjoying the moment, not really even thinking about because we ain't going in like let's do a project, let's make a single. It was more let's just do some record, let's rap. Like you know, what do you need? Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? Um, and for what it turned out to be, obviously, in the long run, you know, it's still kind of is crazy to think about. You know, that first night us going in there, we had no idea it would become what it became.
And Dakari, obviously, he brought you to Lou Pearlman, and y'all were at Transcontinental. So
Yep.
how did that all go? Because Lou Pearlman, he's the big mogul that started this whole boy band craze in
Yeah.
America.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, hip hop wasn't their thing. You know, the car we were kind of the Cari's thing. You know, and when you know we going back to the first single, Who Wants This? Like I said, we was just in the studio like doing records and what we would do sometimes and the car would do too is we would take the record out the studio, you know, back then used to burn it on a CD or whatever. We would take it down the street and go to the
Go
strip
test
club
it
and
out,
have one of
huh?
the
Yeah,
DJs just
yeah.
play it and hear it, you know what I'm saying? And then because you kind of hear the sounds and you kind of see the reaction. And you
Try to
know,
get
Who
the
Wants This was like I think maybe our third or fourth or fifth record
okay,
that we did. And
okay.
you know, he tested it. We was testing it at the club, and it sounded really dope, right? And then, you know, back then, like you know, you had street teams and stuff like that, which is kind of my background in the music industry. Really, before I even really got into rapping, I used to do street team work in the Orlando area. So I kind of started learning the marketing side of this, like the guerrilla marketing, the posters, the CDs.
Who'd you do street team for? Who'd you do street team for? Because I did street team too.
So our manager had a company called Street Dwellers, and we used to have pretty much almost every account in Central Florida other than Def Jam. So Atlantic, you know, like Warner, all the different labels. Um, other than Def Jam. Def Jam had another street team that was doing their stuff. But you know, used to go put up the posters at the club and
The
get the, you know,
flyers.
service the DJs with the records. That was kind of like my introduction to, oh, this is how they market records. This is how you promote records. This is actually how they get records played and stuff. So So having that background when we when Dakari kind of was like, hey man, I think this is a good record, man. It tests well at the strip club, the DJs like it, girls like it, sound good. I'm gonna approach Lou about pressing up some vinyl. So get the vinyl pressed. We got the guys that can service the DJs because we are really servicing DJs with all these other records that they want. So
right.
now it's like, hey, slide this one right in too. You know what I'm saying? And then hey, you work in mix show, you work in DJs at the radio. Like, hey, I need a spin on this record. Can you give me one today? Right? And then it's like, hey, can you throw this one in there as well? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's kind of how it started at Guerrilla Marketing. We took the street team logic and started promoting Who Wants This. And one of our really good friends who was in Orlando, he had moved to Fort Myers. He ended up in our mix show. He's like the main DJ doing the traffic jam, 5 o'clock stuff on 105.5 The Beat down there. Started playing our record. And the program director there, Bo Matthews, shout out Bo Matthews, man. He was a major player in what eventually became SMILEZ SOUTHSTAR. But he kind of was like, yo, who's that? And our boy was like, yo, that's my boys from Orlando, man. Like, yo, they dope, man. Hey, see if they want to come down and do this show, Halloween, like this erotic exotic ball, like radio show, right? It was with Kaya. Kaya was like the headline. They were like, yeah, see if they want to come down and do that show with her. So he was like, yo, you want to come down? I was like, shit, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? So we literally went down there, did that show that night. And, first time me and SMILEZ performed together, we had like 3 songs, boom, rocked it out, went upstairs, program director loved it, hung out with us. We were drinking, like kind of just chilling the whole night. After the party, he goes, hey, let's go back to the radio station, man. I'm about to play your song over and over and over. So we literally went back to the radio station at like 3 in the morning. Nobody's probably listening anyway, but he played the Who Wants This record like back to back to back to back to back to back to back, like literally probably like 10, 15, 20 times. Now it shows up obviously, in
BDS.
Media Base or BDS and stuff like that. But that's kind of how Lou came involved. It was more, hey, let's press this vinyl up. So he obviously backed Dakari. He believed in Dakari. Dakari's been an in-house producer for him for a long time, and this was kind of Dakari's baby and his project, so he backed them. And then as the stuff started really taking off, it became a production deal through Dakari, through Transcon. And then eventually Artist Direct came around and became a full label deal through Artist Direct, through Transcon. So, but that's really the story, man. Street team background, having somebody that had the money to press vinyl.
Well, I tell you what, that's a big part of the story too. That's a big part of the story, because if you didn't have that, I would say the knowledge and the relationships that you had through, like you said, giving these DJs already the hot records from these other hot artists, and establishing just face to face, but back in the days, you had to go and shake that person's hand. You had to go give them a record. It wasn't about the email blast. You had to go see them at 12 at night, or really at 9 when he's getting there, and give him the record and be like, hey, play it right now. See if you can play it at 12, type
you
gotta
stuff. Meet them outside a radio station before they walk in, and
you got to hit them with it.
Or you got to hit him when you're walking out, and you got to be at his event, show love, like that's what it was about back then, man.
How much interaction with Lou did y'all have like at that time?
I mean, it wasn't like Lou wasn't involved, generally speaking, in what we were doing. He did his own thing. He like boy bands was his thing. He was heavily involved. He would do whatever he had to do with them, right? Interaction is obviously we know each other, he would take us out to eat, and he'd be like, yeah, Dakari keep telling me good things about you guys, man. Hey man, hey, rap, hey, like he would, but it wasn't his thing. You know what I'm saying?
I could dig it.
My interactions with Lou have always been positive, and it's always been support, and again, a lot of it is because he was really good with Dakari, so the support was gonna be there anyway. And then of course, as the success actually took off, it probably kind of caught him like, oh wow, like, this thing really took off. You know what I mean?
These my boys, my rappers.
He's my boy. He's my guys now.
Lou Pearlman story. I'm not gonna touch on that. But I think he has an amazing story. Within what he did for music in that type of genre. I think that it was dope that y'all even got to witness that and was around it. And was this like the end of was this like the Old Town era, or was this like the LFO era? Like what era of
No, it
Transcontinental
would
was
this will
this?
really be probably about the O Town era. Yeah,
Okay.
like O Town era. Making the band was going on, you know, like that was kind of like early 2000s. O Town, like they used to be in the studio all the time. You know, LFO had it was already kind of past that, even though around that time, Rich Cronin of LFO, you know, rest in peace to him as well, used to always be in the studio, like, and we used to do stuff together too. So a lot of the guys will be around. It was definitely post NSYNC and Backstreet, like they weren't really around no more. But O Town was around. There was another group called Natural that he had that would be around a lot. C Note, and then you know, like I said, Rich Cronin will be around in the studio a lot as well with us. But yeah, like that's about that era, you know. And again, man, with Lou, you guys want to know the Lou story? Google Lou Pearlman. You can hear the whole Lou story, man. And you know, a lot of things went
It's
sour.
interesting. It's
Uh,
interesting.
yeah,
It's very
definitely had a
interesting.
fallout in his story. But personally, my interactions with Lou have always been positive. He's always been supportive, and really, man, like you know, for us, you know, at least me personally, if he doesn't take a chance with Dakari, our lives don't get changed forever, you know. So always gonna be grateful for that, regardless of anything else that has happened.
And that's history. That's hip hop history, and I feel like that's pop history too. You know, like
Hmm.
to be able to come out of that machine and be able to come out of that talent watering hole. You know, like I think that's
Yeah,
you know, I
yeah,
think that
yeah,
that's super big. It's crazy. I remember a couple years back when they did that ABC story. Me and my mom, we were at Olive Garden sitting at the bar, and they had the you know the TV at the bar, and it's the ABC, and I'm watching it. And then like I see a flick of y'all guys. Like I was like,
yeah, yeah,
oh
yeah,
man, they go
yeah,
Smiles and SOUTHSTAR. Like I got
yeah,
crunk. It was just a quick shot of just like y'all
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
him like getting in the airplane and stuff. I was like, man, that's
yeah,
super dope. You know, like that's
yeah.
history. Like
The funniest story I have about Lou, we was flying to New York, man, and you know, we took this jet. It was like us, him, and it was like a couple groups, a couple artists. But we flew on the jet. So as we getting ready to go leave the studio to get on the plane, he like, you guys want to eat? And they're like, yeah, let's eat. You know what I'm saying? Hey, what y'all want? And we like, Popeyes. I don't know. You know, Popeyes, right? He's like, come on, let's go to Popeyes, right? So with Lou Pearlman walking into Popeyes, you know what I'm saying? Like with all of us. So he buying Popeyes for everybody, paying it with a black card. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they like looking at the card like, huh? And like he's like, they probably don't know. They probably never seen a black card in here, huh? I was like, man, I'm pretty sure nobody's ever bought Popeyes with a black
with a
card. You
black
know what I'm
card.
saying? Like, you know, so we like get to the airport, we get on the plane, like we just all sitting there just eating Popeyes on his private jet. He talking on the phone, like on the cell phone at the time, the plane getting ready to take off. I'm looking at him like he crazy, like you talking on the phone while we taking off. And he like paused the call. Hey, hold on 1 second. He goes, you probably wondering why I'm on the phone, huh? He like, you want to be on a plane that will crash if you on the phone? I was like, nah, not really. He's like, exactly, man. He's get back to his phone call. Like, he like, I'm like, oh man, that boy crazy, man.
He
But
clowned you.
yeah, man, like flew to New York, man, and you know, good memories, man. Good times, man. Definitely lots of memories, man.
You know, y'all signed with Lou, Transcontinental. You got all these other acts, like you said, O-Town's there. And did you have a lot of interaction with O-Town? I always wondered why, how
Yeah,
come
yeah.
nobody was on nobody's albums? Like, how come O-Town ain't sing no hooks on this? Or
So I think a lot of it was just because O Town was their entity, you know, that was kind of Lou's thing, and then we were kind of Dakari's thing. You know, we definitely had a lot of interaction. We wasn't necessarily around a lot while they were doing their album. They weren't necessarily there while we were doing our album, like all in the studio together. But we've done stuff together. Like, you know, I remember doing a show in where I think we were in, I want to say like Rochester or somewhere like that in New York. We were doing a show for at one venue, and then like O Town was like at another venue, like the next day or whatever. So like we was like, well, shit, let's go out there. Like, so they brought us on stage, and you know, like we collaborated, like a lot of stuff like that. But as far as getting on each other's records, we wasn't necessarily all recording around the same time. And then, you know, just keeping in mind that while we were recording, we wasn't really nobody. You know what I'm saying? We didn't necessarily have a record deal. We were just kind of just recording. And the next thing you know was like, oh damn, this record's taking off. Oh, wait, this label want to sign us. Wait, we got to put an album together.
that's
Oh,
right.
let's pick some songs. You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of it just happened kind of organically, very quick. Um, so it kind of was like, oh wow, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it wasn't really until Tell Me takes off where everybody's like, oh, these
Yeah.
dudes legit. You know,
Yeah.
like, up
Yeah.
until then, it's like they just some rappers here. They cool, but it's
y'all
like
still working. Y'all
we
still
owe,
working at that point.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
still grinding. We still ain't really nobody at that point.
Other guys like, we're old time, we're on TV and stuff like that. I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah.
And y'all released the single first, of course, before the album, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Who Wants This was our first single. Yep.
You got Khalees on the song, like, and this was Khalees like before the milkshake and
So
everything.
it's not Khalees. Everybody thinks it's Khalees. It's actually not Khalees.
Okay, it's not
Um,
Khalees.
nah, it's actually, I almost want to say it's actually Dakari singing it, but he may have some background vocals on it. But everybody thinks it's Khalees. Everybody always thought it was Khalees, which is, I was like, damn, no, it wasn't Khalees. Nah, I mean, Who Wants Us was really just like, because again, we recorded that record, like, it was like one of our third or fourth records we did in the studio.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't Khalees, but a lot of people I know thought it was Khalees.
Who's the Jamaican dude on there?
That's actually Dakari singing.
Here we go, bring it back again, cause players don't ball tonight. Mr. Smiles and SOUTHSTAR, so enough gon' get you right.
Dakari rapping on there in the video.
Yeah,
Damn,
yeah, he's the one that, here we go.
I ain't even noticed that. I ain't even noticed that.
And he's in the video. That's Dakari.
I didn't even notice that.
He's the one singing. Yeah,
super dope. Super dope.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually Dakari, man.
Who Wants This? Hey, the video I feel like was classic for its time. That was such a dope concept and just like a crazy video. I mean, you jump into somebody's body and and then they like disintegrate. I mean, it was just such a cool video. Like, whose concept was that? Like, who got high and wrote that treatment?
So Gregory Dark, who directed Who Wants This, and he directed Tell Me, was the director. They came up with the treatment. You know, again, like back then, you know, I'm new to the game. I didn't even know what the treatment was, to be honest, until they were like, yeah, here's the treatment. I'm like, what's that? They're like, oh, this is the treatment of the story. Oh, okay, I got you. You know what I'm saying? So we just kind of just going with the flow. We like, man, whatever y'all need us for, man, we there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we were actually like, wait, they shooting a video? Wait, we going to LA to do this? Oh, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is cool. Like, we ain't never really shot a real video. We ain't even know what to expect. And I remember us like pulling up to the set of the video, and they just like treating you like you the like a A-list actor. Like, hey, I could come this way to the trailer. Hey, you guys need anything? Water, you need that? And we're like, what? Like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is weird. You know what I mean? Like, because again, we ain't. First of all, nobody still really knew who the hell we were because the record ain't come out. It ain't really, the video ain't out. Nobody knows who we are. But yeah, man, like a very elaborate video. You know, when I remember them telling us the treatment, and then they like all this like, yeah, we're gonna have this special effects and all this stuff and blah 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 and all this like kung fu type stuff. And then we're like, oh, okay, whatever, you know. Like, and they were like, are you good with doing stunts, or do you need a stunt double? Because we can get one if you need it. And me and Smile, nah, we do our own stunts, man. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we do our own stunts. They got to take care of the talent. They got to take care of the talent.
Nah, but for us, the first video, we ain't know no better. You know what I'm saying? They like, nah, the talent. We got to make sure the talent is okay. So when the scene where I think I'm jumping into the dude in the video, they had to shoot, you know, green screen, and they had a guy there like telling you, hey, we want you to jump like this, put your hand in your leg like this, and there's a mat. And they're like, you sure you good, man? And I'm like, man, I play sports, bro. I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got this. Good,
I got
man.
this.
Don't worry about that. Yeah, don't worry about that. We good. So yeah, I mean, it was super fun. A really fun video to shoot. The one thing I after that video, I never really necessarily understood how much hours and work went into, you know, a 3.5, 4-minute video until we did that. Because that took us like about 2 days of shooting and like 14, 16 type hour days of shooting. Like we was like, wow.
When the video hit BT, like it was like a shock, like, man, who are these guys? And like, there's a fight scene, like, you know, it's real dark, kind of like a dark, like y'all in a cave or some shit, you know, like it was like
like an underground fight club.
Yeah, like an underground fight club. So like, I think it was a cool little shock value, I guess, to the record. And I think it was a great first introduction record at that time. Timberland and stuff was hot, so the beat kind of like had like some Timberland feel to it, a little reggae feel to it. So I mean, I think it was a great record. But coming behind, you know, Who Wants This, you know, Tell Me, and which is two totally different records. You got like a night and day. You got this Who Wants This, which is a very dark video, you know, you're fighting, And then you got this next record, the follow-up record, which is the perfect for the follow-up record, because your first record to be cool, but your second record you wanted to smack, you know, that way. You got them something. So the follow-up record is Tell Me.
It's the reason. What you think, huh?
Which was a total different from Who Wants This, you know. Y'all knocked it out the park, man, and you know, great record, Diana Ross sample, Marvin Gaye sample. I mean, and who did the beat on that?
So DJ Nasty, and his brother Nasty Beat Makers, basically LVM. DJ Nasty did the beat. Dakari co-produced on it. Dakari wrote the hook. Billy Lawrence sang the hook. You know, like crazy thing people ask us about that song is like, you know, did you know it was a hit when you got in the studio? And it's like, man, honestly, we just went in the studio. Like that just was the routine every day. Was like we would walk in and there'd be a record sitting there ready. Like, yo, just do your verses. You know what I'm saying? And so we just went in and we were like, yo, like I knew it was a dope record. Like I thought it was a real good feel good record. Loved the hook, you know, loved the vibe and obviously the sample. But yeah, I mean, we just recorded it like any other record. I think Tell Me might have been one of the last 3 or 4 records. I want to say it's probably one of the last 3 records we recorded for the album. You know, didn't even think of it as a single really at the time. Like it was just, you know, a good record. Let's get to the next, because we were still focused on Who Wants This. And like, you know, hey, we got to push this one. We got the video coming. Like, let's try to market this record. You know, and yeah, Tell Me just kind of had a life of its own, man. And that's the beauty of hit records, man. They just kind of go. You know, they kind of go. Like it's really hard to go in and make a hit, man. It kind of just organically happen.
And who picked it as a single? Was that Dakari, or was that like everybody, or was that like a loose decision? Or
we were working Who Wants This at the time. You know, we had just shot the video, and you know, like we talking early 2000s. So, you know, for the youngins, right? Like this ain't DSLR. You know, I got a camera, I can shoot a video for a couple $100. This is 35 millimeter film, like a whole crew with production set. You know,
trailers.
I think the budget for Who Wants This was like 300,000 for that video. You know, so we're working the record because we don't, you know, the money been spent on the video, the money's being spent on vinyl. We're touring with Beanie Man at the time, you know, as his opening act all around the country. I think we ended up doing like 2 months, like 60 something dates with him. It's funny because in the beginning, obviously nobody knows who we are. The record's kind of, it's there, but it ain't like popping, you know, like it's in mix show, it's getting spins, but it ain't like, you know, hitting like that, right? So we would go do radio and, you know, we meet with the PD and we meet the DJs, we do drops, but it wasn't like a lot of stations, especially in the big cities, that was like, yeah, let's get them on air. I remember one day, I want to say we were in Philly, and I was sitting there, we were just in the van, like, and I was sitting with my manager, we were just talking, and they're like, you know, they're pressing the vinyl for Tell Me, and I want to say the B-side was a song called Ridiculous. Not 100%, I can't 100% remember, but I almost want to say, and they were like kind of testing the records, you know, getting into some DJs and testing it. And what my manager was saying is like, hey man, like, they said they've been testing the Tell Me record, and the Tell Me record's like,
that's the one.
Starting to get some response, like real response. And I was telling him, I was like, man, like, I think that's a really good radio record. And he was like, I know, but he was like, but you know, we just got the video. Once it's just got on BET Rap City, we got to allow some time for that. So Tell Me just kind of had a life of its own, man. Like it was one of those things where it got leaked through vinyl. DJ started playing that one. People started calling on that one. Radio stations started adding it. And it was kind of like Who Wants This at that station was dead at the time, because if they're already playing Tell Me, they're not playing Who Wants This no more, because that was the one already. So once it started kind of picking up and getting a life of its own, then it was like, I remember one day my manager was like, hey, we got to shoot the video for Tell Me. And I'm like, what happened with Who Wants This? We was just working Who Wants This, right? They're like, nah, they're saying it's starting to pick up, like the spins are going up and it's going fast. We got to get the video done, because obviously at the time you got to get video in line with radio.
It takes time.
Everything that's going on. Yeah, and it takes time. Like we shot the first one in LA, but we want the second one in Orlando for our hometown. Like that's we that is where we want to shoot the video.
That's right.
I don't care what the concept is. but we want to shoot in Orlando because we want to shoot it in our hometown. And ended up shooting at Universal. The reason they just picked theirs because it had different locations that you could shoot different types of scenes. And man, yeah, man, tell me a life of its own, man. Once that thing started rolling, it was over.
Tell Me was a big record, man. I know I was probably like in 7th grade, man, and I just know I remember seeing that like all over BET. I remember the Who Wants This, and then I remember like y'all had a commercial for the Crash the Party, Smiles
Yeah.
of SOUTHSTAR, and like the artwork was genius, like because like I didn't know if it was a white boy and a black dude or a light skinned black dude and a dark black dude. Like the album cover and the logo was genius. Like and it was just I feel like timing was perfect for y'all. Like at that moment, like with those records.
Yeah,
So,
tell me did his thing, man, for sure.
It's been a while. Yeah, you know time goes fast. Let me tell you though, some things still don't pass.
the next single, which was Now That You're Gone, that's more of like a street record.
Let's go. Yeah. 1999, I lost my son. That day I felt I lost my mind.
I remember that playing on BT, not as much as the Tell Me. I remember Who Wants This a little bit more than Now That You're Gone, but going back and listening to it, I was like, man, that's such a dope beat and such a good storytelling. Like it was a great record. And I felt like that summed up the album too. I guess like you said, your club record, then you had your record for the girls, and then you had your record for the street. Like going back and listening to the album, to the Crash Party album, like I was like, okay, it's a full, well-rounded project. Like when I was a youngster, I got the singles more, because I was a DJ, and going back and checking out the full album, it was dope. On the album Crash My Party, I got samples from REO Speedwagon, uh, Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross.
Man, Dakar is genius, as a producer, man, like just taking these, and then again, the Marvin Gaye Diana Ross sample, that's DJ Nasty, flipping that sample. So, just their production, their genius of being able to flip a sample and create a dope record. If I remember, the REO Speedwagon, I want to say it was the Gully record, if I'm not mistaken, that they sampled on. But it was the one thing I'll say about Crash the Party, man. Like it was really a collaborative effort, like a record, where me and Smiles were so new. All we knew was 16 and 8, and here's a hook, and you know what I'm saying. If you need a hook, we'll do the hook. If the hook might already be on there when we show up, you know what I'm saying. So we just doing our verses. So really, that was kind of our introduction to everything as artists. But having that team of people around us, you adding their genius to it is what made the project just as special, and not just the musicians that worked on it, because there's musicians that are playing live instruments on there. There's background vocal singers that are on there. Someone like Billy Lawrence coming in doing the hook on Tell Me, is a huge piece. It could be anybody else, but Billy's perfect for it. But even like the team of people, the management at the time, having the street team, like it's kind of very collaborative effort in getting the record to where, what it did, man. And coming from out of nowhere again, a small town group grew from Orlando, Florida, back then, big city ran everything. We weren't from a big city. You didn't see an Asian rapper, so, a lot of things stacked against us, but it took a total team effort to kind of make it work. But yeah, I mean, them samples, they end up getting cleared.
I know that wasn't cheap.
Yeah, no, that definitely took some work too, but we ended up getting it done. So
you're wearing your BT hat right now, which is we got to talk on that, because I remember seeing these videos playing all the time on BT, MTV, and the commercial for the album. Like I remember seeing that, and I know y'all had to have toured Texas a lot, because at that time it was playing all over the radio out here. Like did y'all ever have people like ever be like mistake y'all for like Paul Wall, Chameleonaire, or be like, man, because back in the early days, I mean,
yeah.
like Paul Cam Black, Paul White. You know, I'm from the Swisher
Yeah,
House
yeah,
family.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
Nah, they ain't never really, messed with us as far as like calling us Cabin and Paul Wall, man. And crazy things, like I told you, man, Houston's really like a second home. I love Texas, love Houston, man. Like one of the best cities in the country. I tell everybody it's one of my favorite cities all over the country. Have met Paul Wall, great dude. You know, all them guys, man. I met Michael Watts, super cool dude, man.
my
Trey's
brothers.
cool as hell. Bun's cool as hell. Like, you know, some of the most humble superstars on the planet are in Houston, man. And you know, all of them have showed us crazy love. You know, Texas showed us mad love. It probably one of our top markets is Texas. You know, and then all our records I think started in Corpus Christi, which is I feel like everyone's records start there and then
Oh,
spread out. But Corpus
wow.
Christi used to always play like we the first one to play our record in rotation on radio out there. San Antonio, been there. But nah, I mean Houston's like, you know, that's my town. You know, Jimmy Boy is a real good friend of mine. You know,
Jimmy
shout
Boy,
out
what
to
up,
him
Jimmy
doing his
Boy? Shout
thing.
out Jimmy Boy. Lou Pearlman and the Transcon who did all these, you know, they had a Latin group, like, you know, me being
Yeah,
Latino, like it was cool to see, like, you know, and I ain't grow up jamming that music, but I'm a DJ. So it's like I appreciate all music nowadays that I produce. So it's like I know when I'm DJing, you know, all, you know, blonde hair party in their 30s, I know if I drop a Backstreet Boy record, these girls gonna go crazy
yeah.
and
I
screaming.
want
Yeah,
you back.
they're gonna trip. And I thought C Note was a dope R&B group, and they all had great voices and they could all sing. And then, you know, there was a transition with their group when some members left and they had a new generation. So
Yep. Mm-hmm.
talk about C Note.
Yeah, man. I mean, C-No was kind of, you know, they again like the Latin boy band, I guess you could say. Um, cool dudes, like he's be in the studio with us, like while we were recording. So, you know, that's really a lot of our interaction. We always in the studio together. They may be in one room, we in another. Sometimes we'd be like, hey, can you sing background on this? You know, they need a rap. We can get on their stuff. You know, we've definitely collaborated a lot, and we're all from Orlando for the most part. Most of the members, I think the younger guys that ended up joining later were from different areas. But for most of the original members, which is I think who I saw actually do the show in New York, was the actual original
Mm-hmm.
foursome. Most of those guys are right here in Orlando, and we kind of grew up around the same time and knew a lot of the same people. So, you know, it's cool to see them, you know, still doing their thing, man. And you know, they had a nice little run when they had the kind of the two new members, you know, going around and doing, you know, a lot of Latin countries and visiting those areas. So now it was dope, man. Like again, man, just one thing about Transcon, what was dope about being a part of that, and just being in that environment was you were exposed to a lot of different types of music. You know what I'm saying? Like different genres and stuff that you might not necessarily, as a hip hop artist, we don't necessarily expose ourselves to that. You know, like, you know, coming up, it was always like I'm with a rapper, I'm with a rapper, I'm with it's all hip hop, and that's all I know. You start getting exposed to all these different genres of music, and you start getting, you know, it kind of just your palette of music, and as an artist, it helps you really develop too, because you start appreciating different
Yep,
types of
start
music, different
appreciating it. Yeah,
styles, and the talent that they actually have. You know, because it's like, yeah, that might not be my cup of tea, but man, it's still talented, man. Anybody that can go in the studio and start from scratch and come up with a song and you listen to it and you're like, damn, that's talent.
and
Yeah,
be
yeah,
hits. Like, I mean, you know,
yeah, yeah,
you can't take away, you know, no, there's country hits, there's Zydeco hits,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
Tejano, there's cumbia, there's all kinds of hits. So, you know, like you gotta appreciate music just for what it is and for what it does for the fans that it does it for, you know.
There's an audience for everything. That's
For
what I always
sure.
say.
So C Note actually sang backups on some of y'all stuff, like background vocals and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they were definitely always in the studio with us a lot when they were working and we were working, because we kind of really were almost parallel as far as, you know, a lot of the stuff. So yeah, and anytime you would need something, maybe they would come in and sing something on the back, or add this, and you know, same thing, like, you know, there's songs that we've done with them where you know, they need a rap verse. It's like, come on, I'll knock that out. You know what I'm saying? Now a lot of stuff probably never came out, but
That's
it's
right.
just, you know, because there's so many records, we're just constantly doing records. But that was kind of our relationship, mutual respect for each other, and then just being from the same city and coming up together.
Definitely cool to see, everybody, I would say, kind of sticking together, at this point, and in everybody's life growing up and stuff like that. Like like the Swiss House, we do stuff like together probably twice a year, to where everybody gets to get together. Like we got a Christmas party coming up that we do every year. Shout out the CEO from Swiss House, G Dash. It was just his birthday. Last Saturday was his birthday party. I didn't get to go. I was booked DJing. But like, there's few events every year. Let's like, the label gets booked and then they reach out to all of us, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
now we're doing a House of Blues or some crap like that. But like, it's hardly ever that you get to I get to go around all my old homies that I was with, during my
Yeah,
Swiss
yeah,
House
yeah,
days.
yeah.
So it's
Yep.
cool to see those guys, the pop world, like get back together and get all those guys together, for the fans. So it's cool seeing
Yeah,
that
man.
and showing them love, because at the end of the day, we all like going back and walking down memory lane and feeling that feeling on stage again and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on Rich Cronin. I know you worked with them on the Cab Driver song.
Yo, taxi! Yo, where to, dog?
And Rich Cronin, he was such a dope songwriter. I thought, like, he one of my favorite songwriters. Still to this day, like he got great records, even like a lot of his solo stuff. Tell us about Rich.
Me personally, I didn't really know Rich that much while he was in the middle of the whole LFO thing. But kind of after the Summer Girls and all that stuff, kind of he would be in the studio, and he had kind of his own band, and he'd be in there rehearsing, and obviously we're all in the studio interacting and meeting each other, and he actually is a hip hop head, so he raps, like he freestyles and all of that. So what would happen is, like, we'd be in the studio, and Rich would just be like, "Hey, put on a beat, the car, let's freestyle." And I'd be like, "You want to freestyle? All right, cool." So he would just start rapping, and we would just start freestyling. And then while he rehearsed with his band, they would play a beat. He'd be like, "Let's just freestyle," and the band would just be boom, boom, and we would just be freestyling with each other.
Rich Cronin. So you said y'all just used to be in there jamming and freestyling and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. Rich a hip hop head, man. Not just an amazing songwriter, but he could rap. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he used to just be in freestyle mode, like with the band or whatever beat was on, and that's kind of how me and him really got tight and clicked up, because we would just always be in there freestyling. Like every time we see each other, it was like, "Oh, beat on, let's freestyle." So that's kind of how me and him became cool. And again, just being in the studio together, and then of course with all the other Natural, C Note, all them guys being in there. That's really how the Cab Driver song kind of came about, man. Rich had the concept, and he was like, I think the car did the beat. Rich really wrote the whole song. I think the whole song was actually him originally, and what he did was he split it in half and gave half the verse to Natural, and then but he was like, "Yo, like it'd be dope, like to have a rap verse right here," and so Dakar was like, "Come in here, put something down," and that's kind of how the record came about, man.
I gotta turn around, I can't let you leave her behind. Love her, man, she'll always be on your mind. Always. You gon' think about her day and night, night and day. So listen, I'ma tell you the right things to say. They're just telling you love her, show that you care. Make sure you hold her close, play with her hair. Like that night before bed, make love and give her a kiss. Run away now, trust me, you will be missed. Man, I still don't know.
Natural, that was like one of the newer boy bands at the time that Lou was working on.
Yeah, it was one of Lou's like newer boy bands. They actually did pretty well in Europe, like in the Germany, because usually that's where he would take them first, go to Europe, kind of Germany and all those little, the countries over there. They were actually pretty big over there at the time. But that was like his next project.
And that record, like, you're in the music video. Like I said, I like Rich, and yeah, he definitely was a rapper too. He could get down. Like I liked a lot of his lyrics and stuff like that. You could tell that he had a lot of hip hop influence in his writing and choice of beat selection that he would use and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of R&B influence. Like I was gonna ask you, like, what do you feel like LFO was? Were they like a boy band, or were they like a pop rap / R&B group, or?
I think they were like the where NSYNC and Backstreet was probably more of a singing group, like a pop R&B kind of singing group. I think LFO was a little bit more hip hop influenced. Like I wouldn't necessarily say they were like the NSYNC type vibe where it was R&B ish. Them guys from Boston, man, like and I know a lot of them. Like Briz, who was one of the original members of LFO, man. Like, he was around Transcon. He ended up, doing a lot of stuff for us at the time too. Like, I've been around a lot of them and a lot of urban in them, growing up in the streets of Boston, man. So, definitely, and Dakar is from Boston, which is where they kind of all know each other. So,
Okay.
definitely more urban influence. And, even in like, when in the LFO records, man, I mean, you had your singers, but when you hear Rich Rich is he can sing, but he really like rapping almost a lot of these songs.
That's
You can
right.
kind of hear it just kind of in a with a melody and
He had a flow. He had a flow.
yeah,
Rest in peace to Rich.
yeah, man.
We just lost Devin too. Rest in peace to Devin and
Yep,
Briz. One of the original
yep,
members. Briz,
yeah, man.
and it's crazy that you said that. So when Briz left the group and wasn't in LFO, he was still around Transcon.
It was actually a point where he actually was road managing. He ended up being like he ended up running a division of the label. Like I don't remember if it was like the hip hop division or the urban, or he kind of took on the C No project. Lou ended up putting him in that position. Briz was on the road with us a few times, like road
Mm,
manager with us.
mm,
He kind of did everything.
okay.
But yeah, Briz, again, man, like all good guys, man. Like guys that have been around a long time and definitely taught me a lot. For someone that was younger, brand new in the industry, like I done heard some crazy stories about LFO and them.
And the boys were out there touring Germany and all that stuff for
Yeah, man,
years.
like some
So
crazy. They took us under the wing and showed us the way.
you don't get to hear too many stories about Briz, or you don't get to hear too much about Briz. And if you don't know who we're talking about, he's one of the original members of LFO.
Yeah.
It's cool to hear that uh after he left the group and stuff like that, like he was still a part of the label and still a part of, help
Yep. Yep. Yep.
transitioning and grooming these new acts and like you said, road managing and stuff like that. So that's some pretty cool history. And what's crazy is a couple years back, we were gonna do something. Like we got in contact over Facebook and stuff like that, and we were gonna do. I wasn't really doing no podcast at the time. I was just doing like interviews in the studio, just recording like vocal interviews and stuff like that. And he was down to do it. And I don't know what happened, man. I guess I just got busy and I never got around to doing it. And it was, it's unfortunate, you know, that I didn't get to, but it's cool that
Yep.
you're able to share, some stories and touch on it. Uh,
Yeah, for sure, man.
Brad, he's still out there doing his thing, on the pop tour with uh
Yep.
O Town and Chris from NSYNC and stuff like that. What'd be tight
Yep.
is to get y'all guys involved in that and get y'all guys on that pop tour. Cause I just seen that they had C Note on
Yep.
there
Yep.
going to I think New York and stuff like that. So
Yep.
it'd be cool
Yeah.
to see all y'all guys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we was actually I was just talking to David from C Note today, and I said, I guess they're coming to Orlando in January, and I said, oh man, that's dope, man. I gotta come out to check y'all out, man. So yeah, you never know, man. I mean, again, man, small circle, all of us been, was around a lot of the same stuff that was going on at the time and grinding together. So, even Chris Kirkpatrick, man, that's another good friend of mine, man. Showed us a lot of love. We shot one of our videos at his crib. When he used to throw legendary parties at his house here in Orlando, like Super Bowl parties and Halloween parties that were legendary. But just a small circle of guys, man, that been around, especially from here in Orlando.
It'd be cool to see, you and Smiles or even just yourself on that because that's a cool. It'd be a cool little dynamic, to add hip hop, you know, together with it. So Smiles was in the video, a cab driver, but he wasn't on the verse.
Just happened to be in the studio that day when they did the record, man. Like again, like just I just happened to be there, and then they needed 8 bars, and I just happened to give them the 8. That's really the answer to that. It wasn't like we want to put you and not him or anything like that. It was just I happened to be in the studio that day, and Rich was like, "Yo, put a rap on this part," and it was like, "All right, cool," and they liked it, you know what I'm saying? And so they kept it, and then when they shot the video, it was like, "Nah, man, we got to have a scene where me and my guy in it."
And that's a cool story because, you know, a lot of people, they don't understand that sometimes you just got to show up, you know, and when you show up, you don't know what's going to happen. And that's like one of those records, you know, and I'm sure, like you said, those guys were huge in Germany and stuff like that. So I'm sure the record did well out there. And did y'all ever get to go overseas and tour and stuff like that?
We never did Europe. We really didn't go overseas too much. Like I think we did obviously like Canada, Jamaica, but never really touched like the Europe or even like the Asian market.
Why Jamaica?
So we went to Jamaica primarily because we toured with Beanie Man when we first came out with Who Wants This. We was his opening act on his tour here in the United States. So it was like 2 months on the road, like 50 dates. After the first couple of weeks, like that's family. You know what I'm saying? Like Beanie became family. Beanie showed us mad love, and he actually flew us out for his 25th anniversary concert and party to Kingston. So he flew us in, put us in a hotel. I remember at the time it was us and Rupee. He had brought Rupee in before Tempted to Touch. But Rupee, he was like, "Yo, this is Rupee, man, one of the hottest artists I think he's from Barbados." It was us 3 pretty much in the van. They was driving us around to all the events, and we were just hanging out, like, and then we all go perform at this field that has like 20,000 people out there watching Beanie Man and celebrate his 25th anniversary concert. So, I had the chance to do that. We went to Montego Bay for a radio event that they had out there. So that's about as far as it was. Really dope though, because like going to Jamaica, like Montego Bay or anything like that, very touristy. You know what I'm saying? Going to Jamaica with
Kingston,
Beanie Man in
Kingston, come on.
You in the middle, you like really see Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? And we went out to the party they throw in the field with the big speakers and everything. Like every night it was one, and Beanie would just be like nonstop. He's like, "All right, come on, man." We would go to this party. He was like, "Come on, man, we got to go to this party. Oh, we got to go to this party." And he would just be, in his element, just like literally like just in the middle of everything, just dancing and having a good time, man. But yeah, man, shout out Beanie Man, man. We actually had a record we did with Beanie Man that was going to come out on our second album. But because we never really got to that album, it never did come out. But Beanie always showed us mad love. I'll tell you a quick story. Our very first show on the tour was in Newark, New Jersey. If people are familiar with Newark, New Jersey, it's middle of the hood. We're in a community center.
Jersey.
This is before anybody knows who we are, so we opening up for Beanie Man, and we on this like reggae tour. The whole crowd is Jamaican, like ready for reggae. We come out. You know what I'm saying? Like we're like, nobody knows who we are. We like, all right, so everybody just standing there watching. Nobody really boo or did nothing. They just listened. 3 songs. Nobody cheering, screaming, no movement, but they didn't boo. We was just like, let's just go get these 3 songs out the way, make sure they don't boo or throw none, and we good. And so we went on, came off, and as we were coming off, Beanie was actually right there, like backstage, like sitting down with the mic in his hand. And he actually got on the mic and he was like, "Yo, make some noise for Smiles and SOUTHSTAR."
Oh, dope.
And we hadn't even met him yet. This was we just got on. It's the first night of the show. We ain't even met him yet. And we was like, "Oh shit." You know what I'm saying? Like, and for us, we like, man, that's the king. You know what I'm saying? That's the dance hall. That's Beanie Man. Like, we love Beanie. I've been a Beanie Man concert before anything. You know what I'm saying? So, we stayed the night, watched the whole show, and then after we met him and we hung out, we went to the next city, and it was like every night what ended up happening was we would perform, we would stay for the show, we would all hang out. We would perform, we would stay for his show. Our set was like 15 minutes, you know what I'm saying? His thing was like an hour and 45 minutes, but we literally there every night. We would perform, come off, hang out with the crew. He would perform, we stay for the show. After we have a party on the bus or at the place, and then we would go next city. You know what I'm saying? And it just developed a really good relationship, you know, to the point that sometimes we was on his bus and he would be playing Who Wants This, like, I love this, man. Yo, they jammed this record in Jamaica. Like, you know, they're dubbing this record, like, you know, all this stuff. And so it was really dope, man. And like I said, that's how we ended up in Kingston, man, with Beanie Man for the 25th anniversary.
You know, that's dope. Such a dope experience. And I would say a culture shock. You know, it got to be a big culture shock, you know, from
Oh,
American.
yeah.
When I go to Mexico for vacations and stuff like Cancun and stuff, it's still a culture shock to me. I'm like, damn, that's crazy,
Yep,
you
yep.
know, just certain different stuff. So I know that had to be
Now,
such an experience.
Kingston's, you know, and again, we in Kingston, like we went to his house, his studio, his compound, like in the middle of the neighborhood, like, but you know, like definitely different, dope ass experience, and super good people, man, super,
That's right.
you know, cool people. Like they show mad love. Like we go out, they're like, oh my god, you know, like, and I'm like, man, that's crazy. Like, you know, for again, like we thinking like two young guys from Orlando, man, like that rap, they know what's in Kingston, Jamaica. Like that's crazy.
And they loving that Who Wants This record.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
dope.
man.
That's dope, man. That's
And
dope.
Beanie would be like, and Beanie was like, you know, they appreciate you being here because they don't get the people to come here. You know
That's
what I'm saying?
right.
I'm like, man, shoot, this is dope, man. Like I'll come here anytime. You know what I'm saying?
It'd have been dope to see Who Wants This remix with Beanie Man. That'd have been dope.
It might have happened if Tell Me didn't blow up, to be honest with you, because Tell Me kind of started taking over once this as the tour went. It was, you know, I talk about the first show where nobody knew us, nobody said nothing. We were just glad to get off the stage without getting bottles thrown at us or anyone booing. And you fast forward like 30 shows later, and it's like the minute we walk out, everybody's like, ah, just like seeing the transition going from show to show, from nobody knowing you to like they kind of know who you are, a couple people, to like all of a sudden you like, you know, you're on TV every day, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, man, dope experience, man.
Like I'd like to see a biopic, you know, on this because, like, you know, I'm a film guy, I'm a movie guy, you know, like
So who would play me in a biopic, man?
I
Like
don't
who would
know,
play me?
man, I don't know. Hold on, Jamie Foxx, he could do it
Like
though. He could do it
like
though.
who would you choose? Yeah, like who would you choose from to play me, man? Like Eddie Huang or someone,
Man,
you know,
you know,
Timothy De La Ghetto.
I don't
You
know,
know, take
Jeremy
my guy.
Lin. Jeremy Lin. No, you know, I think I'd like to see more biopics on musicians and artists, especially hip hop. You know,
Yeah,
telling that story and showing you know, the new generation, you know, where everything came from, and you know, and y'all story is different from the '90s, and the '90s story is different from the '80s and stuff like that. So
yep,
it's just
for
it's
sure.
cool, man. And you know, it was great having you on the show, man. I don't want to take up too much of your time. It was good talking to you, brother. My brother SOUTHSTAR, man.
Appreciate you, my brother, and hopefully somebody want to bring us out that way
Yeah,
soon, man. We link up, man.
no, we're gonna work on it.
Cool, man. I appreciate you, man. Always love, man.
Yes, sir, brother. What's gonna have a good day, man. Enjoy that Florida weather, man.
Yeah. All right, my brother.
All right, brother.